Brethren, sistren, and those of you who do not like to be pigeonholed, hurry thee in, for it is time once again. Oh, my camera's got the lens cover on. There we go. Nothing happened there. It's all fine. Nothing to see. Pay all your attention to the man behind the curtain. So yes, there we are. Yes, here we are again. It is the 22nd of New-vember 2024 in the season of Aftermath, and our Saints' Day was 2 days ago. If you missed it, there is a recording that is available to you via the YouTubes. Unfortunately, I forgot to turn the volume on the music down, so that was a bit of a thing. But it did lead me to the conclusion that I'm turning the music down too far. So we've tried something a little bit less aggressive on the music turny downy. At this time, I'm being hailed. I mean, some people would say that we've got used to the fact that Dad streams on a Friday night, but there we are. No, okay, he does know now. He wasn't sure. He had his ears covered. So now he knows that I am streaming, and this is the Discordian service for a Friday night. As I said, 22nd of November, approximately, let's see, well, we can work this out. We had the 32nd day was the Saints' Day, and it's 2 days after that, 34th day of Aftermath 2024. So we're over the halfway point, I think. 73 days. Oh, no, we're not. Tomorrow is 35, so that's half of 70. Then by Sunday. Sunday will be halfway through Aftermath, and this is where we find ourselves. So very good. So yeah, as usual, we must begin the proceedings with the disclaimer. You can all say it with me if you've heard it before, and if not, then it'll be new to you, and so you should enjoy it. Here we are. All acts of Discordianism portrayed herein are for spiritual entertainment purposes only. No spiritual enlightenment or transcendental experience is offered or implied. Leaps of faith and logical backflips are performed by trained sophists. Do not attempt to recreate at home. Any resemblance to other religions, alive, dead, or merely untenable, is entirely coincidental. Hail Eris and immanentize the eschaton are brands of the Discordian Society. All associated intellectual property rights are probably also wrongs, just the way they are these days. Fnord. So there we are. And of course, the order of service offers the cradle of familiarity, which we have got well used over the past few months. But just to remind you, we start with Deep Thoughts, our sermon, which have been getting less analytical and shorter, unless there is heckling from the peanut gallery, in which case they elongate. But that's the whole point of the service. It's an expression. It's a place for expression. If you are indeed a Discordian, this is a place for you to come and sow discord in a controlled environment or an uncontrolled environment. No, it's a controlled environment, which is something we may talk about in a little while. But then, of course, we have Faces of Eris, the mystery deepens, Reflective Tarot, where I have shuffled the deck ahead of time this week, super prepared. It's having to do 2 services in a week. Everything I got wrong last time, I've got a chance now. Kandar, if such a thing as this, it does. Kandar has proven its worth. It's brought us an official dinosaur, among other things. So, there are questions and there are answers. But there are also answers that are really questions in disguise and questions that answer themselves. So, it's a crapshoot. It really is. And finally, of course, we end with the weekly sacrament. I've got my sacramental hot dogs right here. You can go and get your own, and we can stick apart together, enjoying the blessing of the goddess every week. Hail Eris, immanentize the eschaton, all hail Discordia, all of that. Here we are. And the Deep Thoughts man this time around considers a thermometer. A thermometer. What could it mean? I'm not really in the mood to mess around with this. Let's just show it. Here we are. It's a vibe check. I haven't even bothered to hide the other parts of the slide, so take them in now, drink them in via the medium of your eyeballs, and I'll expand further. As I have just mentioned, 2 days ago was our official Saints' Day for this season at the SWDP, South Wales Discordian Press, proudly not printing any works on the subject of Discordianism since round about 2020. We stick by that because you got better things to do with your life than be staring at dead trees, parsing out the words contained therein. And so we proudly are a press that does not burden you with the guilt associated with buying a book and then not reading it. You can't buy the book or read it because it doesn't exist, and that is what the SWDP does for you. And so the vibe check. The point is that 1. Aftermath is the last season in the Discordian calendar, so we are heading all the way down a long ski slope, maybe a ski jump, towards the end of a Discordian year, and the last Discordian event that is not co-opted or societally expected has passed by. St. Flup. We enjoyed our macaroni cheese. We enjoyed our meatballs. We enjoyed having the background music on too long during the service, and that weird beardy guy waffling on and on for just about 40 minutes, which is incredible about Discordianism. And that's it. Between now, the next, what is it? Doing the maths always killing me. So 35 is tomorrow, so that's half of 70. So 32 days in, so 35, 36, 37. In the next 39 days-ish of the season, or there is no significant Discordian activity. So it behooves us to start working on those things for when the new season of Chaos begins on January the 1st, to ask ourselves some questions. Questions like, what path are we on? What's on the horizon? What's the outer inner general vibe? Now, I have not come up with these questions at random, oh no. In my explorations of the reflective tarot, which we shall be touching on shortly, one of the things that happens when you get into tarot decks, if we've got anyone here into tarot decks, then you'll know this. Well, apart from the fact that often the accumulation of different sets of tarot cards is seen as an end in itself. You don't actually need to do anything with them, contemplate them that much beyond shuffling around with them and having a look at the designs in the shiny new deck that you have bought. But also the other thing that you might need to do is do a reading, and often most systems either come with a few that the person who wrote the deck came up with, or they bung in the old Celtic cross, which is kind of like the ploughman's lunch of tarot decks, as I understand it. It's kind of invented to go along with a tarot deck issue. They were like, we need something that looks good, and so it's sort of by focus group, and for that reason it is either accepted or treated as the red-headed stepchild, and then there just bung them out in a circle, lay them out in a row, whatever you want to do, and some of the configurations are somewhat arbitrary. And if we're going to harness our positional vibes, our natural neurological relativity, like our proprioception of things, obviously you're going to have a central point in a reading, and then everything above that central point is up, everything below the central point is down, and then everything to one side is to the left of it, and everything is to the right of it, and there is the card stuck in the middle with itself. So that is it, and that's the simplest possible tarot reading. That's a 5-card reading for me. One in the middle, one at the top, one at the bottom, and one on either side. And the one at the bottom corresponds to the question, what path are we on? And then the one at the top asks, what's on the horizon? And the one on the left, now you see I've used a little bit of a cheat here. The one on the left is if you think of the person in the center as having a sort of loosely sort of martial arts-esque vibe, it is traditional that the right hand is coming out, whereas the other hand is ready to block. It's from the inside. So the outer vibe is obviously the one in the right hand, so on the right of the central card, and the one on the left is the inner vibe, and the general vibe is of course the central point, the card in there. So when we say a vibe check, I could do a tarot reading, but it wouldn't mean. I don't know. I don't think it would mean much in this context. But the questions by themselves are suitable for meditation. Yeah. So that's why I've sort of said when we come to this point, a vibe check, and I think it probably will evolve over time to be the thing that happens after a Saint's Day, because if you recall, the SWTP one use saint system means that once the Saint's Day is past, you can discard the saint and never think about them again. Not the saint's vibe, they get reused, but you can think of the saint as kind of like an effigy of the vibe. And so we examine that, we run around it a couple of times, we beat it with a stick, whatever it is, and then we have the vibe for that. So we've done that, and it was a joyful occasion. I enjoyed celebrating St. Flop's Day. It was an anchor point that was very personal to the Discordian faith in my personal worldview, and I got to eat some macaroni and cheese and meatballs, which was actually pretty delicious. It's a dish that I would eat again, so thank you to St. Flop for that, even as you fester in the dustbin of past Saints' Days. But then after that, straight after that, you should be thinking, because you're most of the way through a season probably, or at least you've come to a point in the season where the Saints' Day gives you no more focus. So asking the questions about, what path are we treading and what's on the horizon and what's going on with the vibe, perfectly sensible questions. You could ask them at any time. Well, I'm just pointing out that when you've got nothing further to focus on in the current season except for the end of the season, why not ask those questions now as part of your Discordian activities? What path am I on? Well, I'm the same path. It's funny, actually. When we were in 2020, the year of the horrible Lurgai that made everyone stay indoors, I used to do, like a lot of people who do tarot, used to do a daily vibe check. But eventually, after a little while, when it settles into a groove, all the daily vibe check tends to tell you is how you're feeling about the vibe check. It becomes very circular. So that was when I had the revelation that maybe sort of arbitrarily saying, what's going to happen today? The answer can be not very much. And then you're making your reflective tarot reflect back, not very much. This is about the only thing you've got going on in your life at the moment, which, you can view as happy, sad, whatever you want. I like a boring life. So for me, that was always good news. But then I thought, do I really need to draw a card for that? So then it became this thing where you draw a card and it gives you a vibe, and then you explore that vibe and see where the vibe comes in your life. And when you feel that the vibe no longer applies strongly, or it's weakened and it's faded, you draw another vibe card. And that seems to work a lot better, because it reminds us that time itself is arbitrary. It just happens. Yeah, you get so far and you need 8 hours sleep. The sun comes up, the sun comes down, all the stuff we've sort of mentioned before. But in the tense of continuity, time is just happening to you, and nothing new need happen on a particular day. So during the lockdown, obviously that feeling of sticky vibes kept coming at you all the time. And my vibe card was the King of Wands. I drew that one early on in the lockdown proceedings. I was telling us about, if you stick to your passions, if you act out through your passions while you're stuck indoors, that's what you've got to reflect upon. Are you doing that? Are you pushing that agenda? Are you taking care of the people that you love by putting out that King of Wands vibe? And it never faded. It faded not at all for a long time. At the time, the boy was, he was like 4-ish, and now he's a bit older. But the fact is that actually that vibe, I think particularly if you have a lot of stability, a vibe can stick for years. And in fact, its energy can be useful for years. And maybe you're unexcited by that, and that will mean that your vibe will expire because you're going to make it expire. But I'm happy to sit in that, and I haven't drawn another vibe card to this day, 4 years later. It's been pretty much the same. So the path is the same. We're just living, we're just raising a boy, we're just doing our job, and now I've thrown in doing Discordian services on a Friday. So what's on the horizon? More of the same, more or less, generally. I am enjoyed, by the way, for my asynchronous brethren, sistren, and those who do not like to be pigeonholed. You are making my heart very glad on the old YouTubes. I know that it's not convenient for a lot of people. Well, anyone who's not in the UK time zone, 7 p.m. on a Friday, and if you're young and it's 7 p.m. on a Friday and you're a Discordian, there's still the fact that you might want to do something else on a Friday night, and indeed that's fine. You can have plans, but the sorry, I just noticed 23 at the corner of my eye. It's coming in 7 minutes, guys. Get ready. 23 comes but once a week, and it's coming tonight. I've remembered to put the timer on at the correct time. It will be a real, full, valid, 100% real 23. But I've noticed the number of subscribers on the YouTube channel has slowly been creeping up, and it brings to mind how this is different to usual YouTube channels, usual YouTube content. You see, if you're making content about some very broad generic topic like video games or like music or any of those things, then I can measure the amount of subscribers that I want in the thousands easily. Yeah, that is not a difficult calculation to make. That you can be disappointed if you haven't got over 1,000, over 10,000, over 50,000 subscribers, because you're making pop culture content that is supposed to be broad-based entertainment. But I am not making that. I am running an Discordian e-chapel where people pull up an e-pew and enjoy an e-service on a Friday, or if they can't watch on the actual Friday, they take a little slice of Friday away and watch it at their leisure. And 20 subscribers there, plus umpty followers and a couple of people who occasionally come in to harangue me from the chat. It's going great. E-chapel wise, it's an e-chapel. Chapel is necessarily thought of as smaller than a church by me as well, and so that's just cracking. So every more subscribers, it'll get to a point. I think once I get to about 50 subscribers, anything else is gravy. I am a little bit dismayed. Happy Discordians are not quiet, or at least I would see it as your duty to disrupt whatever I'm doing. If you can, however you want, throw me a curve. It's good. It's good to throw me a curve. It's appropriate. It's how it should be. Yeah. And this is another thing. What's on the horizon? I would say that one of the things that's coming up a lot more, clear, is the relationship between the Erisian and the Anerisian. Yeah. And then underneath that, there's obviously true chaos, which we can't really apprehend. And that is why we shouldn't fear order, because it's an illusion to the same degree that Erisian forces of chaos are also illusory. They both just mask the same underlying chaotic turbulence. And therefore, we've harnessed order to make chaos, and we can harness chaos to make order, and that is the way it should be. Hail Eris and stuff. And just, more unpacking that from our heads. It's probably going to give us, again, a clearer vibe of the fragility of what we refer to as reality. That isn't, reality isn't real. There we go. That's the thought there, and that's what we want to look at probably going forward. What's my outer vibe? Obviously, my outer vibe is presented to you before. I wear my scarf. I wear my little pastor's hat. I do the service. That's what's being put out there. That is what it is. A stream of trying to get in there with a crowbar and lever out some kind of chaos just into your brain on a weekly basis. That's the outer vibe. The inner vibe, I'm feeling a lot more relaxed. I think one of the reasons why we have fewer massive PowerPoint-a-thons in the thing was partly because it's New-vember. And what I understand is if I'm going to have a big slideshow, it has to be all new stuff. And I ain't got time for the research this New-vember, so we just keep it light. We see what's spontaneous, we see what's intuitive. That's how we come in to the thought at this time. But generally speaking, I think that we could probably do with snappier services, and just the vibe has to carry us, and the vibe is saying at the moment maybe hour-long services, a bit of a heavier commitment than we might like. So we might want to just stay on this chilled out tip. And that's the general vibe. It's the end of the year. It's aftermath. We did all of our getting excited about the Saints' Day. The Saints' Day happened. Now we're just cruising down, following the rest of consensus reality through the holidays in our particular regions around the world. Love a Christmas, and so on and so forth. It would be a real, and it is going to come up shortly, is that probably the way that the normal Gregorian calendar works is that next Christmas will be on a Thursday, which means that the Friday, the Christmas week service on that will come on Boxing Day, and then the following year, what year on now? 2024. So this was a leap year. So then it'll just bump forward, and we'll actually have Christmas Day being when the Friday service is. Well, I've got 2 years to go through before we get there. So let's not worry about how I'm going to handle that, because I'm not sure that there's really much mileage in arguing with actual Christmas. But by the time 2 years have passed, who knows? Maybe we will need to do that. But yeah, I think this just rolls on and that we keep going with it. I am at this point just extending the current section, because if you look up in the corner, you will see that in 75-ish seconds it will be 23, and therefore we will be wanting to acknowledge that event that is coming in just about a minute. I think one of the things we're going to the e-chapel door, we always have a kandar section. That's where the door is open, more open. The door is always open to comments, questions, insults, whatever comes vibing in from the outside world. And kandar is just like a formal acknowledgement of that arrangement. And I think that's what I would like to ask, which maybe I'll exploit 23 in order to do, is wonder how everyone else is finding the journey. And I guess that's my vibe check as well. How am I finding the journey? What I'm saying is much more relaxed. I find the further that we go into this thing called Discordianism, and the more that we formally acknowledge that it happens, the more that it just happens kind of by itself, under a kind of inertia, just like 23. 23 happens just like some kind of inertial event. It comes, you can see it coming, because I've put a handy countdown timer there. But the point is that 23 doesn't necessarily have to come during a service or with a countdown timer. Sometimes you may just stop for a minute, look around and realise, I'm in 23. 23 is happening like right now, man. That could happen. It does occur to me, actually, and we'll back out of 23 now. We're about to formally back away from the 23ness, because 23 has been here. It has filled our life with 23. We are all filled with 23. Hail Eris, thank you for the 23. And we will go back now to this. Actually, it's the game. Yeah, we're having a look at that game. So it's called game because if I was playing a video game, where the vibe check slide is, that's where the video game would be. But I'm not playing a video game, so meh. Yes, we're about to do Faces of Eris, and I'll just go full for a second while we're that. I've left its profit week on again. I really need to change that in the base presentation, because its profit week is fine as like a general announcement, but honestly it should be something even more specific or generic than that, like Eris's face here, or it's your game weekly dose of spiritual Where's Wally. We'll take care of it in the meanwhile, but I think you're going to be I'm going to share with you now the notion. What is the face of Eris? What is the face of Eris this week? Well, brother and sister, and not pigeonholed. The goddess is out. Yes, all things are valid as the face of Eris. Eris can reveal herself to us in any form, including no form, nothingness. And the goddess has come to me and she has vouchsafed that she doesn't want to share faces at the moment. She's not in the mood. Nobody's upset her, not more than usual. There's no reason for this. It is arbitrary. It is whimsical, as in born out on a whim. But for the time being, there are no faces of Eris. She is not going to be talking to me. She might be talking to one of you, in which case you're perfectly welcome to start your own service and share this particular piece of intelligence back. But I've been greedy, even though I'm sharing on behalf of the chapel, and so we're not having it for a bit. And that's chaos, baby. Oh, let me just there we go, you can see the slide a bit better. Yeah, there we go. Goddess is out. You don't want to share faces, and that's chaos, baby. Yeah, I mean, it'll come back. We will see Eris again, maybe not until chaos next year, maybe not even then for a while, maybe after the Saints' Day. She's just taking a sabbatical. She's going on holiday and we are not invited. Yeah, that's another thing. We've been doing this for 3 months straight now. We've had 12, 13, whatever, faces of various things. We've had She-Hulk, we've had the film Dumb Money, the series of Devil's Hour, we've had art, we've had Old Bob, we've had Eris being Eris, yeah, we've had all of these. We've had what's her name, Miss Chalice, we've had My Wife. All of these places Eris has found her way to and has showed her face in that. It is a truly chaotic jumble of people of both genders and construct. It's a lot, and I think that the vibe here is to chew on all of that and swallow it all the way down, baby. We got to digest. Before we started running these weekly services, you only got the face of Eris whenever you remembered that you might like to see the face of Eris, and whenever that face of Eris, came out of the wilderness to share with you. Yeah, but then you've been getting a weekly dose for many weeks. What I'm saying is, hey, why not give it a rest? Why not give it a system reset? We've all had a good time with it. Let's you can't just continue the party indefinitely, so let's have a pause. So as we see here, when the time is right, she will return. Eris will be back and she will show us her face again when it is that we have indeed digested the faces that we have already seen. And she does say maybe try looking in the mirror. Eris isn't just in all the places that she appears in this service on a weekly basis. Eris lives in one and every Discordian. One and every true Discordian. Oh dear, I've used the word true Discordian, or the phrase true Discordian. Yeah. Well, anyone can be a Discordian. You just declare yourself to be a Discordian. However, what's really weird is when you declare yourself to be a Discordian and act like a greyface. Why do people do it? Who knows? Probably to sow chaos and division. But of course, that's a really Discordian thing to do. So excellent. They should be praised for trying to sow chaos and division, because that is exactly what a Discordian wants to do. Some of us like to go on a philosophical, mystical vibe, receiving the vibes, mysticism, vibing, vibe lordism. The SWDP is clearly a vibe-heavy faction of the Discordian Church. We just like to receive the messages and to go, hey, wow, we're listening. Isn't that weird? Yeah, So that's just a style. There are many other styles. And so, yeah, the overall message is live free, ride the vibe. Yeah, and I think there couldn't be a better message, but that's just because that's me. That's my approach to the whole thing. If you ask me, do you want to do a session in Operation Mindfuck? No, thanks. My mind's fucked enough already. Thanks very much. Cheers. On we jog. And that's it. But that's just me. There are other people, there are other styles. And if your way of expressing Discordianism is entirely different to that, power to you. It's that time. We've got to come on down, yeah? We're going to look at this week's reflective tarot card. And I think that the style for doing this one, I got the deck pre-shuffled here. And on the Saints Day, it's always the top card of the deck, which isn't even this deck. Yeah, that is the card of the Saints Day, because once you've shuffled it, what would be on the top other than the card that the Saint wants you to have, right? But in the Erisian e-chapel, we do a cut, because that saves me counting through. I mean, if someone gives me a number, that's different. Then I have to count properly. But there's no one here to give me a number right now as the broadcast goes out. That tells me what we do is we cut. We've got a random number of cards down, and then we just take the card off the top of the cut deck. And that is this week's reflective tarot vibe. And we have, oh look, it keeps saying to us, you know, work out, act, work in, act on yourself, work out. And that's even coming from the Saints, yeah. And this week, I don't even know if we've had the Page of Cups before, but we must be familiar by now with pages and cups as a whole. So what do you need me to tell you? It's about changing your emotional approach to things, but not expecting a result. Just having a bit of a play. Pages are playful cards. But the thing is, it is possible to play and have a consequence come and get you. That is entirely possible, right? So when we play, every card that urges us to play, to act as if there is going to be no consequence, yeah, the warning is, but there might be. Just as in the other side of the coin, if we had a queen here, it would say act upon thyself and thy attitude towards your immediate emotional reactions and expect a result, but you might not get one. So either way, if you don't expect a result, you might get one that you didn't actually ask for, and if you don't, if you want a result, you might not get one because your action doesn't occur to one. But yeah, of course, the immediate emotion card. A lot of people like to, but they're inaccurately say that means love. That the cups are all about love, but really any immediate emotion. It's just, you know, feeling emotional tends to be either, you know, feeling a bit loved up, or, you know, feeling a kind of cheeky attraction to another human being, or it might be feeling an instant revulsion at the presence of a human being that you have recently met, or it might be feeling an instant revulsion at the neighbour's hairless cat, or it might be, there are lots of things that you can have an immediate and visceral emotional reaction to. And the vibe here is to try and prepare yourself mentally for having that reaction, you know, to events that prevail. And, you know, how am I handling that? I myself tend to handle new information that has an emotional impact in the vibe of it's all an illusion, because I'm a Discordian and I know that it is. All of the meditation, all of the services, all of the messages have told me that any, you know, unless, as I said, you know, you've got that acid test, is, you know, a lorry about to run you over. And if that is not the case, then your reality becomes more, that's the least malleable kind of consensus reality, when you're about to be run over by a truck, or you've fallen off a tall building and the ground is rushing up to meet you. Any of those circumstances, very little leeway for reality interpretation. But any situation that is not that, there is timescales involved. If it's a radical action that is being contemplated in that space, it's going to take time for a number of people's reality engines to reorient to make that thing a reality. I'll give you an example. My company that I work for in a day job is fully remote, and so we all sit in our little homes and we do our jobs, and it's all pretty good. We're in profit. It's nice. I love it, to be honest. And twice a year we have a thing which we bizarrely call the company off-site, which is bizarre because it's the only time the entire company is in one place at the same time. So it should really be called a company on-site, because all the rest of the year we're off-site in our own homes doing our jobs. But terminology. But the point is that every time this comes up, well, the first couple of times it came up, it was very much in the vein of we're all going to have a big PowerPoint meeting for a day, and that's what we're going to do. Well, since then, it has expanded to 2 days with an overnight stay, and the entire company, more or less, like if you don't attend, it's like very unusual. Most of the people from the company are in attendance, and we as a group, as a company, have changed our reality engines to make this into an event. And what is really amazing, given the world and the way that it is that we have engaged our reality engines to make it a positive event. Yes, we do work, which is good, and that's always been the case, but we also connect. It's a very weird... Yeah, I'm making my work sound like it's a kind of strange anomaly in the world of workplaces, in that it's pretty cool. Which it is, and it is, so, there we are. But the point is that it wouldn't be if a bunch of people didn't engage their reality engines to make a thing out of nothing. And all events that occur in a formal space that attempt to intrude into consensus reality and say that this thing is true for everyone, they're born up in the heads of a number of individuals. And the more individuals you're going to need to accept your new consensus reality, the more time it's going to take to stir the pot. So yeah, just think on that, really, and think about if you know that an event has come in and you have an emotional reaction to the idea that that event may happen in the future, then how you engage your reality producing faculties has an effect on that reality, and that is all the power that any human being has. There are lots of people who can throw money at a problem. But the point is that I think when you just throw money at something, that's where you get one of these famous disasters where people chucked money at something that was a money pit, because money loves to be thrown at something, and especially if there's no responsibility or accountability for how that money is then spent or distributed, which means that in order to take that path, to be interested, you have to actually mentally engage. And yet one of the things that is within your power is to throw these monetary resources at the problem, and then you have to engage to see that it's all done properly, as it were. So, it seems maybe counterintuitive, but the fact is that when you hear about things, what we like to call news. Oh, there we are. Yeah, I'm back. I lost the stream there. I had to refresh it to see what it is. So there'll be a drop there somewhere and a split, which means I have to download the videos, glue them together, which is great news for me. It doesn't really, but there we go. It's how we work. But what's really weird is it didn't even come through that there were dropped frames. Anyway, I was continuing. I'll just get on. We were about to finish Reflective Tarot anyway. So we got Kandar. In fact, I've kind of rambled into Kandar by accident. All that stuff that came off the back of the Page of Cups was just an expansion on that idea, which I will sort of reiterate in case you was he one, I don't know when the thing dropped, and two, it's like maybe if you heard it you were like, is he saying what I think he's saying? Well, if what you thought I was saying was that we receive information about consensus reality known as news, local news, national news, international news, memos about using the fridge in the building. All of that stuff is coming into our processing unit, and how we choose to respond. And the other thing is that seeing a data point such as a thing saying please label all food in the fridge allows us then to imply, why did someone think that was a notice worth making? What has been happening? Why do we need to put food labels, name labels on our food in the fridge? Or why does somebody else think we need to? And this is where conspiracy theories are born. But the idea of confabulating from low amounts of evidence an entire rationale for that evidence to have appeared. That is, one, the practice of making conspiracy theories, but two, the practice of trying to get your head around reality. And you might say, I think this is what happened and why that is here. And then, you know, maybe in time the reality does come out and it's like that or it's nothing like that. And you can use little testers like that to see if you've got a good handle on sort of human nature, that kind of thing. So it's just a suggestion. So yeah, there we go. I'm wondering if, in fact, no, because it should. Never mind. I'm not going to think about it right now. So that was Kanda, unless anyone's got anything else. It is time now for the thing that we've all come for on a Friday. Stick apart together and grab ourselves a little sacrament. Chew on that, as people used to call Chow Yun Fat in the 90s, when people didn't realise that was a vaguely racist nickname to give someone. And of course, we hold aloft our hot dogs, or indeed similar facsimiles thereof, such as I have. Think about sticking apart, but all together. And we say the mantra that is the SWDP standard: I could not find a hot dog, not even with a bun. So I eat this candy noodle because devotion comes with fun. Hail Eris! As we know here at the SWDP, anything strawberry flavoured is particularly good. Sacrament, whether it's hot dog shaped or not. We've had strawberry flavoured iced tea. We've had, you know, all the other stuff. So that's cool. And that would be all she wrote for this week of the 22nd of New-vember 2024. It's been a joy, it's been a pleasure as always. I think that obviously the shout out this week firmly goes to my asynchronous brethren and sister and those who don't like to be pigeonholed. You guys are keeping the flame alive, and I see you dropping by to get your little Friday fix and take that little slice of Friday, and it helps us all become more attuned to the Erisian mind wave, and that's great. That's where we need to be as Discordians, in tune with that Erisian mind wave. So I've got a cold. I don't know, maybe you've noticed on the thing that I sound a little bit as if I have pipes alive with mucus. The pipes are alive with the sound of mucus. Yeah, and so I'm going to go away and keep warm in my grey hooded comfort jersey, and I encourage you all to do that. Stay well, be well, and until next time, hail Eris. Have a good one.